Hi, my name is Charles Wahl, and I'm the writer and director of the short film The Moil. The Moil is about a young Jewish couple who live in a community that has a smaller Jewish community, and after the birth of their first son, for the Brit Milah ceremony, have to actually fly in a Moil to perform the ceremony. So it's about kind of the financial stresses involved with going through the process of having a Brit Milah, but having the added pressure of having to fly in a Moil throughout the process as well. Amalgam of different experiences that I've had and things I've heard from like friends, other family, and things like that I put together into the film. Like, I mean, I am Jewish. I am a father of two boys, so I have been through the process of putting together a Brit Milah twice myself. But like, what happened in the movie isn't exactly what happened to me in either occasion. Each one was different. But the idea to actually do a film about this actually came from a conversation I was having with another filmmaker one time while we were waiting for a screening to start. And he's a Jewish filmmaker as well. And I was just telling him about what it's like living in a community that doesn't, where the Jewish population isn't as prevalent. Especially since I grew up in Toronto, where the Jewish community is pretty large. And then coming to where I live now, where it's smaller, it's just a different thing. And then I told him specifically what it's like to like have to fly in a Moil. And so I started telling him this story, that story, and then leading to a bunch of other things. And within a few minutes, he looked at me. He's like, "Man, you got to make a movie about this." And at first I was like, I don't know. I don't really know if I want to do something about the religion. But the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I think doing a story centered around a Brit Milah, could be a great opportunity to explore a lot of themes that are very important to me. The biggest ones being the often transactional nature of religion, and also the challenges of maintaining religion in the modern world. Like, I find a lot of times in film, when you think of a Brit Milah, you think of the Seinfeld episode or other things like that. I would look up other films that had a Brit Milah or a Moil as like a central character, and they were quite often like jokes, you know what I mean, or like a little more farcical. So I thought it would be interesting to approach it with a more serious tone. Like, I mean, granted, there are light moments in the movie, and which we did on purpose because we didn't want it to skew too heavy. But it's definitely something that takes the whole process seriously. And I like the idea of doing something that took that process seriously, because it really is like, when you take a step back and look at it, it is a bit of a unique thing. You know what I mean? Like, having been through it twice, you've just had a baby, especially if it's your first baby. You haven't slept in who knows how long. Your brain's just been reset by having this kid. And now you all of a sudden have to like put this thing together in like 8 days. And it's a lot, and you have, your parents breathing down your neck to make sure you're doing it right. You have to make sure the mother's doing okay, baby's doing okay, you're getting the right Moil, everything's organized properly, you're inviting all the people. And of course, you want to make sure the kid doesn't get hurt too. This whole process, it's just like a very intense thing. And so yeah, I thought there was a lot there to explore. The story was filmed in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, which is a part of Halifax, Nova Scotia in Canada. It's on the east coast of Canada, the far east, part of it's a city that's right on the Atlantic Ocean. And it's it's a proper city, but it is a smaller one, and the Jewish community is smaller here than it is in Toronto, where I grew up, where there's a large Jewish community. They most of the cast lived in, at least at the time of filming, lived in Halifax. A couple have moved since we shot the film, but the majority lived in Halifax. But the two leads, Daniel Maslany, who plays James, and Kaylin Ohm, who plays Lola, his wife in the film, they both weren't living. Daniel lives in Toronto, and Kaylin at the time was actually living in Los Angeles. But actually, she was in New York at the time. She was working on a TV series in New York, and so Netflix gave her a weekend off, so she was able to fly in and work on the film. So the actor who played the Moil is Sam Rosenthal, and he at the time lived in Halifax. He was working as the artistic director of the Eastern Front Theatre, which is a theater here. But he's very similar to me. He's originally from Toronto, grew up in Toronto, Jewish as well. And so he kind of knew the world the same way I did. Like, we had, the moment he read the script, he could really relate to it in a lot of different ways, and which is one of the reasons I cast him. Because the first time I met him, I saw him in a show, and I was just like, because someone had recommended to me to play the Moil, and then I saw him in the show, and he was like totally not what I pictured as the rabbi. You know what I mean? He was like in a nice suit, like clean shaven, hair cropped really nice, like looked quite like a smooth, kind of like very clean cut guy. And I was like, I don't know, the guy's good, but I don't know if he's the rabbi. But he seemed super nice. So I was like, let's go for coffee and talk. And I sent him the script. And when he read the script, like I said, like you could tell, like it like genuinely, he connected with it. Like it hit home to him in a lot of different ways. And just within a few minutes of talking to him, I knew this would be the guy, because I knew he's a professional. B, he would take it very, very seriously, that he really wanted to do it and it mattered to him. So, I mean, I told him right away, I was like, listen, you're going to have to like not shave for a while. You're going to need to let everything go out. If you want to do this, you got to like really kind of physically change to do this part. And he agreed. And he worked really hard. Like, so he and I actually went and met with the rabbi at a synagogue here. We went through the script with the rabbi, talked through him. And, the rabbi, he didn't necessarily, there's some tough things that happen in the film, right? But the rabbi felt like, he said to us, he said, listen, I think this is an important film that you're making, and I'd be happy to help you. So he actually went through like all the steps of the Brit Milah with us. Cause I mean, I've been through it, but I mean, I'm not a rabbi. I'm not a moil. Like, I wanted to make sure it was authentic. So the rabbi went through all the steps of the Brit Milah with us. So we kind of zeroed in on the part we wanted to show in the film. And he gave all the correct prayers to Sam. He even recorded himself doing them, so Sam could like intonate them properly. Sam already knew how to read Hebrew and like speak the words and say the words, but we wanted to make sure he did the prayer like the way a moil would. So it was pre-recorded for him, so he was able to learn it that way. And the rabbi helped us with like basically any info we want, like down to like he gave us props, any information we needed. And I mean, I have some other friends and colleagues as well, and family that are religious, and so I would phone them and they would help me with a lot of information too. But the rabbi was the biggest one. The rabbi we actually like spoke to for quite a while, and I was calling him up till the night before the shoot with like technical questions to make sure we did it right, because that was a top priority for us. We wanted to make sure everything was authentic. The baby that was probably my biggest fear, to be honest, because like I've worked with babies before, and it's such a crapshoot as to what you're gonna get. Like, and as a guy who's had 2 kids, like I know how fussy babies can just be. You never know, right? It's a roll of the dice. But I wanted to get a very young looking baby, like we did it through the actors union. So that we had like, there are minimum ages that you can get, right? It's just not safe to bring a baby that's actually a newborn in, right? So we had some good fortune where a person that's in the industry that I know here, he just happened to have a baby. And so he was taking time off and he wasn't doing much. So I called him up. I said, hey, listen, I'm making this film. I'm looking for like as close to like a newborn baby I can get that's safe to bring out. And his baby was about 3 months old at the time. And I was like, hey, would you be willing to like have him be on camera? We'd bring you out. You'd be there the whole time. We'd give a separate room for you. You make sure you're comfortable, the whole nine. And he was like, he read the script, and he talked to me a bit about it. And like, again, he knows who I am. He knows we all work professionally in the business, and that we would be respectful. And he said, yeah, no problem. And yeah, like I said, we were super nervous about it. So we had like a lot of contingencies in place in case the baby wasn't acting up. Like, for example, we got one of those like the fake babies that like look kind of real, but like aren't. We got one of those. So we used that as like a stand-in, and we were going to use it in wide shots even too, and just kind of like mask the baby. But we actually never had to, like, because this baby was amazing. Like, it was one of the best behaved babies I've ever seen. We got super lucky. Like, it never fussed, never. Like, it was just happy being held. And it's always held in the movie, right? Like, I'm sure you notice in the movie, there's always someone holding the baby, except for during the ceremony part itself, which was the only time it acted up, when that was the time we actually wanted it to act. I'd say it actually just started its festival run. It played at South by Southwest last week. It had its world premiere there. And actually the news just got announced today. It's going to be playing next month at the Seattle International Film Festival. So it's a virtual festival, so anyone can, like, who participates in the festival really can access the film that way. And then from there, we'll see what the next steps are for it. Hopefully it'll be playing at more festivals and then leading to more streaming opportunities from there. I myself have been working as a filmmaker for most of my adult life. I work predominantly in commercials. I direct commercials and branded content and do that. And then over the last, I guess, 5 years or so, I've just made a big concerted effort to get back into, like, the narrative storytelling side of things. So I've made a few short films. My previous one, Little Gray Bubbles, as well, did the festival circuit, was a Vimeo staff pick, and over 1 million views online, did very well. And I'm hoping with the Moil, it has a good, strong life as well. I'm based out of Canada. I live with my family in Canada, and I kind of work back and forth between Toronto and Halifax. I'm represented by a company in Toronto called Asymmetric for commercial work. And I also, in Atlantic, Canada, work with another company called Asymmetric. But I do also work internationally as well. Before COVID, since COVID's happened, obviously, that travel isn't the same as it was before for all of us, right? So I do direct commercials around the world as well. And but that's, yeah. But I do live in Canada though. My website's it's my name. It's charleswahl.com. So it's Charles, Charles, Wahl, Wahl.com. And so, yeah, a lot of my work is available on my website that can be seen. And you can find me on Instagram too at Chazwall.